Although this specific wing for this generation, I'm not sure I'm a fan of this swan hinge. Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. It's Sketchmonkey here. Today we're gonna have a look at the Porsche 911 GT3 Touring, which is the same car as the standard GT3 with some modification to the exterior and the design of the car, which I'm gonna show you both in front, side, and rear view, and also let you know which one of these I prefer and why. The new GT3 Touring here is powered by the same naturally aspirated 4-liter flat 6 and puts out 502 horsepower and 346 pound-feet of torque. And the crazy thing is, this car revs up to 9,000 RPM. But the best part is that the 7-speed dual clutch automatic that you get in the GT3 and the Touring, it's a great transmission, but if you're not really feeling it, you can still get the new GT3 Touring with a manual transmission at no extra cost, which is just fantastic. I really appreciate that there are some companies still that are stretching this internal the end of the internal combustion engine, which is a sad thing to think about. I still think we should have internal combustion engines for special cars. So some special sports cars, that's basically what I'm talking about here. Sports cars, they should still have some variants of internal combustion. I don't think we should go 100% electric. I do think we need to have some because it's such a piece of art having everything, the mechanicals work together in such a way that's been refined since the 60s, specifically in the 911 here. That's what also one thing I love about the 911 in general is some people say that it's a boring design, that Porsche's design are the laziest in the world. They never come up with anything new. They just tweak a little bit here and there from the previous generation, and boom, we release a 2022 Porsche 911. Everybody knows exactly what it's going to look like. But that's what's so special and unique with Porsche 911. I can't really think of any other car model in existence today that has been refined over half a century to the point where we have the Porsche 911 today. And turning that into, for example, an electric car might be cool to have a version that's electric, but I would still love to have an internal combustion engine in the 911 just for this reason that it's such a special car. But as you would expect, it is very, very quick. Both these cars, the GT3 Touring and the standard, 0 to 62 miles per hour, 0 to 100 kilometers per hour is made in just 2.7 seconds with a top speed of 200 or 199 miles per hour, which is around 320 kilometers per hour. The GT3 Touring will arrive here in the US early next year, and it starts at the exact same price as the regular standard GT3, that is $163,450. So now I want to talk about the design here. So specifically talk about the design changes and why do they release a Touring when they already have the turbo, for example, and they have the regular 4S, which is also a pretty fantastic car. So they do this because there are people that love the GT3, but they don't feel like they want to stand out as much, and specifically with this massive wing that you have here in the rear, which is a typical GT3 feature, and I think it looks pretty cool. Although this specific wing for this generation, I'm not sure I'm a fan of this swan hinge. So it's the wing kind of hinges underneath the brackets, so it looks a little bit unique for sure, and I'm sure it's not going to be in everyone's taste, and that's why they also decided to release the GT3 Touring down here, which it makes sense. I really like the philosophy and the thought behind this. Now when I first saw the GT3 here, the first thing that popped into my head when the first couple of seconds I saw it was this corner right here. I felt that this corner is way too sharp. This angle is way too sharp to have on a Porsche. It just didn't feel natural. It felt very tense and very unnatural to have that right there and unorganic. And I think it looks, it's more pronounced when you have a kind of more colorful body. Then this corner here becomes a little too sharp, but since then it kind of makes sense because I find this angle here as well, so I find it right here, so it kind of has a connection to some other part of the car, and that's all that's pretty much all that matters to me. If you're gonna have a radius in one point, I want to see that radius at some other graphic features of the car anywhere on the car, and I didn't realize that these outlets here, they have the same radius as that front design there, so it kind of makes sense. So what are the differences here between the GT3 standard and the GT3 Touring? First of all, we don't have this massive wing. As you can see, there's no wing back here. It does have an integrated wing that pops up at a certain speed, and I'm sure a lot of drivers are gonna pop it up and just cruise around with the wing up at 30 miles per hour just because it looks cool. I don't know, I might do that as well. I'm not sure, it depends on how it looks. But nothing wrong with that, it's just fun to see the downforce needed at 30 miles per hour. But other than that, we have changes to the trim pieces right here. You see this piece around the window is silver painted here, and if we look at the rear, which we're gonna do in a second here, you're gonna see that the exhaust tips is the same kind of treatment there. And we have the body colored now down here. This part that sits inside this opening here is blacked out on the GT3, and it is body color on the GT3 Touring here. Quickly just want to show you the side view here as well before we move on to the rear view. So here we have the GT3 standard on top, and we have the GT3 Touring there at the bottom, and you can see that what really pops out to me these days with the modern sports cars is that the rear wheel feels so much bigger than the front. And that is, of course, because we have different sizes. I think this is probably 20 or no, probably 21s, and then we have 20s in the front. But they are different sizes, obviously, and that's a kind of a trend that we have right now with the BMW M3, M4 as well. And it's been going on for a while. Let's have a look at the design here. The thing to me is, I think this looks a little too much like a regular 911. I think we should have something more added to it, and that's what we're going to talk about in the rear view next here. That little detail that I think would just set the GT3 Touring apart a little bit more from a regular 911. Other than that, you can see the silver trim here around the windows, which is different from the standard GT3, and also the body colored right here, which is blacked out on the GT3 as well, and is body colored on the Touring version. Looking at the rear view, we have a couple of changes here, and this is what I want to talk about specifically. Can we just take a moment to appreciate the rear view, the rear design, the rear end of the 911 992? I think this is the best looking rear end at the moment on a modern car. It has this single light bar, like a samurai sword cutting through the night. Such a simple design, and it emphasizes the width of the car. And on top of that, you have the traditional Porsche 911 hips that sits on top of this light bar, which you can see right here. This beautiful surface right here, massive hips going out there. Traditional Porsche that I don't think they should change anytime soon, because this is what a 911 should look like. You have the C-pillars going into this spoiler right here, which is beautifully almost, I think this is an integrated spoiler in the body. It doesn't move up or down. And then you have this massive GT3 wing up there as well. Looking at the Touring down here, you can see that we don't have the wing here. However, what I would love to do, which I'm not sure is possible to do, but if I was buying the GT3, I would love to have, I don't think I would want to have this massive wing on here. It's just, it just sticks out a little too much from the otherwise elegant shape of the 911 GT3 or the 911 992 in general. But I still want to have this beautiful ducktail here. I just wish they took at least this ducktail and put that onto the Touring version. Or maybe, I'm not sure, but I don't think so, that that could be an option for the Touring, to have that ducktail on the Touring version, because that would make the perfect GT3 for me. Having not this massive wing, I can live without the wing, but I can't live without this beautiful ducktail here. This is something that I have to have if I was to buy the GT3 Touring. This looks a little too much like a regular Carrera. I think it should stick out a little more than this if you want a GT3, and I think the subtleness of this ducktail would be just perfect to have right here, going something like this, and just add that extra specialness to the GT3 Touring as well. And I want to talk about the design changes here, looking at the rear as well. You see we have a different air outlet right here, or hood, which I guess you can call it since it's a rear engine car. The hood is a different design, and also we have the tips, the exhaust tips as I talked about before. They are black here on the GT3 standard, and they are silver on the GT3 Touring, although you can option that to have the GT3 Touring tips be black as well. But other than that, it's not a lot of changes. On the inside, the mechanics is the exact same car on the inside as well. But as I said, I think it's a cool idea to have this kind of treatment for the GT3, to have for people who love the track focusedness of the GT3, but don't necessarily love the styling of the standard GT3 and want to be a little bit more anonymous than that. But as I said, if they can take this, the ducktail here, apply it onto the GT3 Touring, I think we would have a package that the Sketch Monkey could not resist. I would probably just go ahead and buy this car right now if it had that ducktail on there. It's such a beautiful car, and I think it's such a great value as well for this specific car. It's a brand new GT3 2022, and I think the cool thing about this is if you buy this car in manual right now, I think these are going to go up in value in, let's say, 10, 15, 20 years. A lot more valuable. You might even get 2 times your money if you buy it new for $163,000, $164,000 or something like that, which is MSRP for the GT3. And if you pick the manual, I think since those are going away, and this is probably the last Porsche 911 GT3 with a manual, I'm pretty sure we're gonna see, I think that's a really good, not just fun toy to have, but also a good investment long term. But just make sure to, the hard part with that would be to not drive it up to 50,000 miles, because that's probably what I would do anyway. I don't really care about keeping the low mileage on cars if I own this GT3. I mean, it's made to be driven, and that's what I would do as well. So that's about it for the GT3 video. Hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. More videos like this every single week. Of course, I love making videos like this and talking about the design of cars and where we're actually headed. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Take care.